Sears Hometown Stores. Hometown and here to stay. Update your kitchen and save up to 30% on appliances. We are open, even on Sundays. Shop safely in our store or online.
Thank you for joining in with me here at Pacific Northwest Urbex. Today we're going to have a look at several visits at the Sears Hometown Store located in Sequim, Washington. Sears Hometown Stores were locally owned and operated distributors of Sears appliances, tools, and other merchandise. Owners were responsible for the operating costs such as rent and payroll, but the company retains ownership of the inventory. Sears Hometown and Outlet Stores was established as an independent company back in 2012. But was acquired by Transformco during the purchase of Sears assets in 2019. The Sears Hometown Store in Sequim, Washington opened in 2010 by Mr. Gray. One day Mr. Gray's father-in-law noticed an ad in the local newspaper about Sears looking for an authorized dealer to open a branch in Sequim. Mr. Gray was looking to get him and his family back to Washington State so they could be closer to family, and he thought this would be a great opportunity. He already had many years of retail experience in a district manager position for such stores as Circuit City, Walmart, Homebase, and Marshalls. Mr. Gray owned the Sears Hometown Store for about 20 years before deciding to sell the store to retire. Mr. Gray was quoted at the age of 66, "I never thought I'd still be moving 300-pound refrigerators. I enjoyed much of my time at Sears, but perhaps not lugging refrigerators around, but rather making connections with customers. I will miss the people part of it." He recalls one day a customer brought in a breaker bar tool for replacement and the customer noted it under warranty. "The tool is from the World War II era. I've enjoyed the people that have worked for us and the fact that they have a lot of patience. Customer service in a small town is priority at a place like Sears. In a small town, you have to take good care of your customers. We've tried real hard to do that. There are some things we can't fix, but we tried to do the best we can." He sold the Sears Hometown Store in Sequim to the owners of the Sears Hometown Store in the neighboring town, Port Angeles. In 2022, the Sears Hometown Store in Sequim and the Sears Hometown Store in Port Angeles were the only Sears stores on the North Olympic Peninsula. They both closed following the retirement of then-current owner, Mrs. Engel. She decided to retire because she couldn't reach an agreement with her corporate partners. She was quoted, "I told Sears I wanted to go down to one store and keep the Sequim location open for the community. She wanted to close the Port Angeles store since it was so close to the Sequim location and had gone as far as to begin purchasing the building in Sequim. Mrs. Engel said it was difficult to keep the two stores open and to keep them fully staffed at both locations since they were so close to each other and essentially serving the same population. She understood that both stores would remain open under corporate ownership. She said that they got the stores in pristine condition and the employees were on board with staying. She said, I was literally retired for 6 days and they announced the stores were closing. There were 5 employees between the two stores."
Hometown, folks stand by their good name. That's why Sears Hometown Stores have brand names you can trust and the knowledge, service, and prices that'll make you glad you walked in. We're your locally owned Sears Hometown Store, and we're here to stay.
Hey everyone. Hey, I want to apologize for this camera work. Back when I was filming this, really at the time, I really had no idea of even starting YouTube videos. I was basically just shooting with a phone. The videos I'm shooting nowadays are with much better camera equipment, more sturdy. So I apologize. Get out your seasick pills and see if you can stomach through all the shakiness and wandering around. That first video that we were taking a look at when I was talking about the history of this Sears Hometown Store, that was shot back in about February 2021. The Christmas footage was shot later that year in October. And then now we're here at the Sears Hometown liquidation sale of, again, October, but this time it's in year 2022. The Sears store is actually currently now an Ace Hardware. So that was kind of cool that the town in the nearby area has retained a hardware store. And coincidental, Ace Town actually sells Craftsman tools. So it sounds like the Craftsman tools have found a new home in that area. Walking through this store, now, I was basically trying to find any deals myself, really, and just seeing how the liquidation was going. Now, looking at some of these things, the riding lawnmowers, I wish I would have pulled a gun and purchased one back then, even prior to the liquidation sale. Like riding lawnmowers are twice the cost nowadays of what they were during this video. And it's just like, gosh, I would have just picked up one of those. But as I'm walking around, you can see like a lot of the bulk merchandise, is kind of cleared off of the shelves, and a lot of the Craftsman tools that they had there, I already pretty much have. Even at the steep discount, I couldn't really see purchasing them. Well, basically tools I already had. Pretty much all the lawn and garden tractors, for the most part, were sold out. They had some walk-behind mowers. One thing is, during all these sales, I noticed a lot of the accessories, like the lawnmower blades and stuff. Those are kind of some of the last things to go in the lawn and garden section. The other thing that I noticed in this Sears Hometown was when I went through it this time, a lot of the appliances, I was surprised that a lot of the appliances had been sold and cleared out. It seems like a lot of the clearance sales you go to, those are kind of some of the last remaining things. I mean, they do sell, but not nearly as quick as, say, the tools are kind of the first things to disappear, and the lawn garden. But the store actually had quite a few sold and emptied out, which I was a bit surprised. The store, as I mentioned before in the history of this Sears store closing, it's actually, it's not that far from the Port Angeles Sears Hometown, but much bigger. The other store was just as great to visit, but I mean, the size was just astronomical to me compared to the other store. So here I found a Sears shopping cart, which I don't really typically see. I mean, actually, I think this is the only time I've been in a Sears Hometown store and seen a Sears shopping cart. But anyway, when I was walking around, I noticed some of the small Kenmore appliances that were for sale, and I think they were like 50-75% off around there. And one of them is that Kenmore blender. Never really needed one before, but at the price, I mean, I think they go for like $350, $400 or something. I mean, they're so expensive, but at the clearance price, it's like, well, why not? I noticed like during COVID and stuff, when we're all kind of homebound a little bit, I ended up learning how to do some baking and stuff, and it's like, well, why not get a blender? And yeah, I learned how to do a little bit of baking, but it's nice to have if you have it. But as I'm walking around, I noticed like even too the mattresses that they had prior, they had even sold a number of those. So I think what it has a lot to do with is the types of stores that are in this area. It's not a heavy metro area. It's kind of at the top of Washington State, and it's not. And I'm not near Canada, but near actually. You could basically. I think there's a ferry that leaves out of Sequim or Port Angeles that actually heads to Canada, to Victoria, I believe. So it's not really popular, and I think this Sears Hometown Store and the other one kind of really played a crucial role into a lot of supplies that people needed up in that area. Um, so that's why it's kind of great that the Ace Hardware there is now to where people can still, use the location to get tools. I do plan on to visit the Ace Hardware one of these days when I get back up that way. It's a few hours away from where I reside. Um, and there in that last shot, I was looking at the Die Hard floor mats. Those were, I believe, half off also. So I picked up a set of those for my truck. The store overall, though, anybody needs some spare tires there? I don't know how much those were. Uh, the store in itself, was fairly new. The Port Angeles store, which I'll do a video on that down the road. Um, the Port Angeles store is much older. Kind of takes you back in time a little bit, which is cool. This store, the people were really cool in it. Actually, to tell you the truth, I don't think I haven't been in a Sears Hometown store or even a Sears store where the employees weren't super nice and were trying to help you out with anything that they could. Here, it hits a little bit more home, knowing that you're in a small town, and even when the Sears in Aberdeen went out, there's not a whole lot of options like we have in a larger metro area for employment. So it's just a little bit tougher. You feel bad for the employees that are having to go through this. And the liquidator that was here, I really don't know if they brought in a liquidator or if it was the owner, but I have a feeling, I do know at this point in time it was under corporate ownership. The owner had retired. So, at this point, Sears either had brought in their own people or, brought in a liquidator. But, one thing that's weird is about like this Sears Hometown Store, and it is a typical liquidator sale, they'll hang signs everywhere. And as you can see, there's really no liquidation signs anywhere. There was the banner out front. There was a couple of signs in the old flower beds, but virtually, you would walk in here, and if it wasn't for half the merchandise being gone, you wouldn't even know that the place is on, having a liquidation sale. You did find like some little signs here and there showing what percentages off were and stuff, and some other things I had to ask, like, what's the percentage off on this or that. A lot of the Craftsman tools, as you can see here, there was some that I was wanting, but had already kind of been picked through. And they actually had some Die Hard products in there, and Skill, as you can see there. Husqvarna, they had Husqvarna lawn and garden tractors and some DeWalt tools in there. But as you know, if you own power tools and you're doing especially the battery operated ones, if you have Milwaukee, you're going to stick with Milwaukee, and Craftsman, you're going to stick with Craftsman just because of the batteries are, proprietary to those own brands. And as a Craftsman person, I've always owned Craftsman. Many years ago, I worked for Sears for a number of years, sold Craftsman tools. So my dad actually worked for Sears for a short period of time, many decades ago. And I actually didn't even know that until talking to him one day. So that's kind of cool that it's kind of been the family that we've all did a little bit of stint through Sears, mostly when we were going back to school. Um, so it's been pretty cool. Um, it is going to be really sad to see all these Sears Hometown stores. Now, here in Washington State, almost all of the Sears Hometown stores that were left were kind of liquidating almost about the same time. So I found it really hard. There's no way I could hit every Sears Hometown store in my state that was liquidating. Even though a lot of them had already closed up, there was still quite a few open at the time. And I was actually able to visit a few of those, and I filmed them. And I'll post those at some time at a later date when I get a chance to edit. You know, a lot of these videos I have are from, the last 2, 3, 4 years. And some of them are fairly recent also. So eventually, when I find time, I will be uploading those. It's a matter of just me editing them and doing the research on them to try to present a decent video for you guys. I really do appreciate you all joining with me, and if you've been able to stomach watching this video, it's a little rough, a little bit dizziness there. But there will be more videos being uploaded in the near future. It's definitely not going to be on a weekly basis. I have a pretty busy schedule, but definitely when I find time, I will sit down and produce more videos for you guys in the future. A lot of them are going to be heavy into Sears and other retail stores. Some are going to be abandoned buildings. Some might even be the local trains going by. It just depends on whatever I feel like I want to film. I'm going to film it, and I'll post it. Hopefully you find some interest in some of the videos. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Pacific Northwest Urbex or PNW Urbex. I'll post videos sometimes, but mostly I'll post a picture or some history of the area that I live in, and show you a little bit of Washington State. So anyway, I do want to thank you. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. If you like what you're watching, or down the road you see some more of our videos and you like it, just click like or follow, and that way you'll get notified. I'm not going to present that in every video. I think everybody that's using YouTube pretty much knows that. But anyway, I hope you all have a great week, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks. Take care. Bye.